Hello, and welcome. I am Ginny Hallam of Halborns, and you're listening to our 10 Minutes With series. Halborns are part of the amazing Powering People group who support with tech-enabled people solutions. And part of that support is this 10 Minutes With series that we're doing. We obviously know it's tough, and we know it's going to get tougher for our people, for our managers, for ourselves as members of the people team community. So the Empowering People group have decided to do some knowledge sharing. 5 bite-sized 10-minute sessions covering individual and collective consultation, practical considerations in a redundancy process, a session on settlement agreements, and also on outplacement with working transitions who are part of the Empowering People group. So if you're thinking of reshaping, restructuring, renewing, you've come to the right place. And today we've got the phenomenal Stefan Mars, who is head of the legal team at Halborns. I've got some really practical questions for Stefan on collective consultation, the kind of stuff that comes up time and time again. So Stefan, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks, Ginny. It's great to be joining you today, and I hope our audience will find the session useful.
Great stuff. Well, we've only got 10 minutes. I've got 5 questions for you. Should we get cracking?
Let's do it.
Okay, so the first question. So what does collective consultation actually mean, Stefan? Is there a particular trigger or set of facts that we should be looking out for to identify that collective consultation might be necessary?
So basically, if you're proposing to make 20 or more redundancies within a 90-day period, you need to run a separate collective redundancy consultation process with employee representatives. And this takes place before the normal redundancy consultation process with individual employees. So first you do the collective redundancy consultation with employee reps, and then you do the individual redundancy consultation with the individual employees. And when we're looking at whether we need to collectively consult, it's the number of heads you're likely to lose at the end of the process that you're looking at, not the number of employees who might be at risk of redundancy. So it's only if 20 or more employees are likely to be leaving that the obligation to collectively consult is triggered. The 20 also includes voluntary redundancies and even job offers that have been withdrawn. So it's important to get early advice on these issues to check whether collective consultation is required. And the idea behind the process is to try and agree the big picture issues with employee reps before you get into the individual conversations with employees. And the collective consultation process needs to be with a view to reaching agreement. So we're aiming to agree with trade union or employee reps that it's necessary to make redundancies and how any redundancy selection will be decided upon. You don't actually have to agree, but you have to try to agree. And collective consultation is actually one of the more expensive liabilities that fall on an employer. Get it wrong and you're looking at a protective award of 90 days gross pay for each employee. So 3 months money for everyone you employ. Plus, you're looking at potential criminal liability if you fail to notify the Secretary of State by submitting an HR1 form. So definitely worth getting it right. And just to reiterate the point that collective consultation isn't an alternative to the normal individual one-to-one consultation meetings with employees. Where you're required to collectively consult, this is in addition to the normal individual one-to-one consultation meetings. So you do the collective consultation first, and then you have the individual one-to-one consultation meetings with employees.
Well, actually, as you say, collective consultation should really be quite helpful to iron out all of the big issues. And what if you've got a number of employees at risk, so a number of employees who might be made redundant across a number of sites or a number of businesses? What then?
Okay, so the first point to make is that the 20 figure is calculated based on each legal entity. So if you've got several companies in your group, you need to look at each individual company to decide if that individual company is likely to make 20 or more redundancies. If you've got 2 companies that are likely to make 19 redundancies each, you don't have to collectively consult because no one company is likely to make 20 or more redundancies. The second point to make is that you only need to collectively consult if you plan on making 20 or more redundancies at an individual establishment. There's loads of case law about what exactly establishment means, but in most cases it means an individual site or branch. So again, if 2 of your sites are proposing to make only 19 redundancies at each site, it's very likely that you won't have to collectively consult. It's only where you're looking at at least 20 redundancies at a particular site that you need to collectively consult.
Okay, lots to think about, Stefan, right? So just talk us through the key elements of collective consultation then, and the main things that you need to cover off.
Sure. So there are basically four key elements to collective consultation. So firstly, you need to send a form called HR1 to the Redundancy Payment Service, which is basically part of the government, notifying them on this form that you're proposing to make 20 or more redundancies within a 90-day period at one establishment. So this is crucial. And if you don't do it, it's a criminal offence punishable by an unlimited fine. Secondly, you need employee reps to consult with, so you need to elect them. Unless you already have a recognised trade union or alternatively employee reps that you already consult with about other changes in the business, you're going to need to elect new employee reps to collectively consult with. How many you elect and whether you have specific reps representing specific jobs or departments is basically largely up to you. You start by asking all employees to nominate potential reps, and if you get more nominations than the number of reps you need, then you have an election. Then once you've got the reps in place, you then need to send them some specific information in writing, which includes the reasons why redundancies may be necessary, how many redundancies you're going to make and which jobs are affected, how you're planning on selecting which employees are made redundant, the redundancy procedure you're proposing to use, how redundancy payments will be calculated, and information about whether agency workers are used within the business. And then finally, you need to meet with the employee reps. We'd suggest at least twice. Try and reach agreement about the things I mentioned in step 3. You'll also need to factor into the process time and facilities for the employee reps to meet with a wider employee group and then feed back to you their comments and queries. And then once the collective consultation process is complete, you then feed back to the employee reps the final outcome, including whether you've been able to agree any of the suggestions they put forward.
Wow. And so does it have to last for 30 days, or if you get it done sooner, can you shorten that 30-day period?
No, it doesn't have to last 30 days. That's a popular misconception. If you're making between 20 and 99 redundancies, there has to be at least 30 days between when the collective consultation starts, which is when you give the written information to the employee reps, and the first employee actually leaving. There also has to be at least 30 days between the date you send the HR1 form to the government and the first employee leaving. So it's in between the collective consultation starting and the first employee leaving is the 30 days. If it's 100 or more redundancies, there has to be at least 45 days between the start of the collective consultation process and the first employee leaving. And again, there also has to be at least 45 days between the date you send the HR1 form and the first employee leaving. So as you say, you can complete the process in 30 days. So, for example, if you were making 25 redundancies, you could complete the collective consultation process in, say, 15 days, then complete the individual one-to-one consultations with the employees within the next 15 days. And then in theory, on day 31, you could make the employees redundant and pay them in lieu of notice. But that would be about as fast as you could possibly do it. And in most cases, it takes a bit longer than that.
I see. So what we're saying is that between those dates that you've just explained, so notifying the government and the termination, it has to be at least 30 days. But actually within those 30 days for 20 or more employees, so within those 30 days, actually you can shorten the collective consultation process. So the collective consultation doesn't need 30 days. It just needs to be good, proper and lawful. And then the rest of that period can be used up with other conversations like the individual consultation.
Exactly right.
Yeah, fantastic. No, thank you for explaining that. And last question. So obviously any redundancy discussion can be incredibly disruptive, not only for those at risk, but also for other individuals across the business. What are your top 3 tips for supporting employees and maintaining a culture within an organisation?
Absolutely. So a redundancy process, especially a collective redundancy process, is incredibly disruptive and worrying for the business for obvious reasons, and there's no way of getting around that. But there are things you can do to minimize the impact. So my top 3 tips would be, firstly, consider those who are staying. So as well as thinking about the employees who are leaving, you should think also about the employees who aren't directly affected by the redundancy process and who are staying with the business, as clearly they are most important to your future success. They will also be feeling uncertain about the future and concerned about their colleagues who are obviously at risk. You'll want to explain to them what's happening and that they'll need to deal sensitively with their colleagues that are affected, but you'll also want to outline your plans for the future, explain how their roles will be changing under the new structure and why making redundancies now is a necessary step for the future health of the business. Secondly, think about non-financial support. So think about the non-financial ways you can support the employees that are facing losing their jobs. For example, have you thought about providing outplacement support to help them get ready for the next role? This includes things like helping them craft a great CV and interview preparation skills, and shows employees that you're really thinking about practical steps that will help at what is obviously a very difficult time for the employees concerned. If you are offering anything over and above your contractual obligations, you'll also want to think about making these additional elements subject to signing a settlement agreement so that you're protecting the business against claims and getting something in return. And then finally, have a think about employees who aren't actually at work at the point at which you start this redundancy consultation process. Consider those employees who might not be at work at the point you're communicating the news about your plans to reshape the business, particularly those on long-term sick leave and maternity leave, who are often overlooked, sometimes right until the last minute. So think about anyone who's going to be more challenging to communicate with well in advance of the go live date, and plan carefully how they can be brought up to speed with what's happening and how they can participate in the process.
No, some super tips there. But, communication is key in all of this, and planning that communication carefully and upfront is so important to a good consultation process, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for sharing some of what's in your head about collective consultation. Certainly, I found it really useful. Anything else you want to add, Stefan?
I guess the only point I'd make is that, we're here for all our clients, and actually anybody who's not clients as well. So, I'm more than happy to chat through these issues. So if you've got any concerns or queries about collective consultation or anything on the employment law front, please do give me a call or drop me an email.
Fantastic. And the easiest way to do that, if you're not already a client, is to email us at info@halborns.com, and we can obviously pick up your email and give you a call straight back. It's worth saying that as part of providing solutions, Halborns have devised a collective consultation toolkit, picking up on all of the points that Stefan's talked through today. It's got everything from a Gantt charts to help you map out the process. It's got scripts for every meeting and follow-up letters. If you do like the sounds of that, and if you're trying to grapple with collective consultation at the moment, just email me at info@halborns.com, and I will pick that up for you and make sure I give you the information about the toolkit and how we can support. And of course, if you want to hear more from Stefan or from me, just let me know. Thank you. Thanks, Stefan.
Thanks very much.